Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of St. Catherine's Community Services Centre and Healthy Carlow, I am delighted to welcome you today to this webinar to celebrate this year's International Social Prescribing Day. My name is Sinéad Fox, and I am the coordinator of the new Carlow Social Prescribing Service. This service is the first of its kind for Carlow, and I am thrilled so many of you have joined us here today to celebrate this new service and social prescribing services nationwide. We will have input from several guest speakers today who represent a small section of the various community groups and organisations that individuals are supported to link in with while engaging in the Carlow Social Prescribing Service. These include Carlow Volunteer Centre, Carlow Sports Partnership, and Kilkenny and Carlow Education and Training Board. We will also be joined by Sieger-Jamison, Social Prescribing Coordinator with Southside Partnership for Dunne and Rathdown. Lisa will speak about the concept of social prescribing and the benefits to those who engage in this model of support. Joanne Donohoe, the newly elected chair of Healthy Carlow, will give us a brief insight into the work of Healthy Carlow and an overview of the impact of this round of the Healthy Ireland funding for individuals and communities across County Carlow. We will also have a brief input from Martin Matthews, Shine Coordinator for the South East, to discuss the importance of maintaining social connections for overall health and well-being. And to complete today's webinar, we will have a contribution from Niall Morris, Director of Services for St. Catherine's Community Services Centre. Social Prescribing Day is an international event, and you can join the celebrations by sharing how you are attending today's webinar celebration through your personal social media platforms using the official hashtag Social Prescribing Day. So why should we celebrate International Social Prescribing Day? Given the struggles faced by individuals and families throughout the past year and the significant strain placed on the HSE by the COVID pandemic, it seems hard to celebrate anything at all. However, it is in the face of this adversity that communities have come together to support those most in need, to enable them to stay active and connected during the pandemic. For this reason, this year's International Social Prescribing Day aims to celebrate the thousands of projects set up internationally to maintain the health of our communities during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Carlow Social Prescribing Service is one of these projects, having only been operating since late 2020. The Carlow Social Prescribing Service aims to reduce isolation and loneliness by continuing to support individuals virtually at present, which demonstrates how social prescribing is a vital component of keeping us connected, healthy, and engaged during a global crisis. It could be argued that social prescribing is needed now more than ever, given the devastating effect of the pandemic, not only on our physical health, but also on our mental health and social connections, regardless of our age and demographic. However, it is important to highlight several social prescribing services nationwide were established and functioned prior to COVID-19 and have had the task, like many of the organisations present today, to adapt their services and support to operate remotely. One of these services is coordinated by Sieger-Jamison, who is our first speaker today. So without any further ado, I will hand you over to Lisa.
Hello, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and I would like to congratulate Sinead on setting up a fantastic event and wishing the Carlow Social Prescribing Service a fantastic future. So I will be talking about the concept of social prescribing and its benefits in general. So I will share my slides, just bear with me. Sorry for the delay. Now, so social prescribing and its benefits, I suppose there are many benefits that social prescribing can have and are attributed to social prescribing. But just to kind of briefly go into what social prescribing actually is. So there's many different definitions of social prescribing. We normally try and differentiate a little bit between how we talk about it to participants and how we talk about it to referrers. So when we talk to our participants, we would refer to social prescribing as being about supporting the health and well-being of people by helping them to connect with a variety of local activities and supports in their community, such as physical activity classes, art, lifelong learning courses, for instance, and Sinead touched on that already. And during COVID-19, this currently includes online and national supports and practical supports. Sometimes, somebody might need to have a prescription delivered or something like that. Aimed at referrers, and this is an excerpt from the definition used by the All Ireland Social Prescribing Network. Social prescribing can be referred to as a means of enabling GPs and other frontline healthcare professionals or other agencies actually to refer patients to a link worker. And again, you can have different terms here. You can say social prescriber, link worker, community referral link worker, many different terms out there, to provide them with a face-to-face conversation during which they can design their own personalized solutions or co-produce their social prescriptions, so that people with social, emotional, or practical needs are empowered to find solutions which will improve their health and well-being. And often this would involve using services or activities in the community. Just a very brief point about the policy and strategic context. A lot has been happening with social prescribing in the last 2 years. Again, as Sinead was mentioning, a lot of new services were established, and social prescribing fits in with a number of national policies and strategies, including sharing the vision, the mental health policy, and Connecting for Life, as well as Healthy Ireland and Sláinte Care, which have been mentioned already. But not all existing programs in Ireland are funded the same way at the moment. There's a lot of focus on partnership working, cross-sectoral work, and really the main thing is to encourage the empowerment of people within their own communities and look at the social determinants of health as factors that are impacting people's health and well-being. Just to say as well that the HSE has been working in the background on a framework to support the mainstreaming of social prescribing in Ireland. So there will be a lot happening over the next couple of months in relation to that. And most programs in Ireland are currently based in community organisations. Benefits of social prescribing are really multifold, and a lot of research has been done about social prescribing in the UK, where it's obviously also already a very successful context, but also recently in Ireland. And I suppose it depends very much on who is looking at it and what is being measured when you're looking at the benefits of social prescribing. But you could divide it up into 3 categories. So you can have long-term outcomes for participants, which may include improved self-reported health and well-being, or community connectedness or social connectedness, depending on how you're looking at it, and the reduction of loneliness and social isolation, particularly during the COVID crisis as well. Other benefits can include improved confidence or lower levels of anxiety and depression. For healthcare providers, there could be a benefit there in achieving a reduction in the clinical workload over time through social prescribing. So for example, frequent attenders might be attending less frequently because their needs are addressed in a different way. For the community and the system in general, there might be an improved knowledge and connection, for instance, between GPs, healthcare services, and the community and the third sector. So you might have a more integrated system there, and just generally as well, a greater sense of community for individuals living in it. How social prescribing works. Sinead already touched on it, and really different programs might have slightly different approaches around this, but it really is quite simple. You might receive a referral from a participating GP, a primary care team or a hospital, or another support agency, or people might self-refer into the program, which is an option in many social prescribing programs. The social prescribing coordinator or link worker meets with the participant, then explores the needs. They might be using motivational interviewing techniques to really find out what what the priorities are for that person, what they like to focus on, And then the social prescribing coordinator or link worker will support the engagement with the community-based activity or course or support. So essentially create a social prescription together with the person to support them on their well-being journey. Then the participant may start their engagement with the chosen support and activity, and the social prescribing coordinator or link worker will link in with the participant again to review how it is going and whether further support is needed. And then there will be a final meeting with the participant to review all of this again. Most social prescribing programs are using validated tools to check as well how the well-being is progressing. And there will be feedback as well to the referrer. Just very briefly, what makes it work, I suppose, is the focus on relationship building, putting the participants at ease and really having empathy as well for what is happening for people at that moment in time. So it could be that somebody isn't ready to link in with something and a social prescriber might help them through that phase. It's also about working with the participants where they're at, focusing on their needs. And really what's really important here is the strong relationships with community providers and the initiatives and with the referrers. And just a final word to say that COVID-19, as Sinéad has said, has changed the way that many of us work, but social prescribing is more relevant than ever as a support during the pandemic. And a lot of us have adapted our services to phone and online consultations and always change, I suppose, with the current lockdown measures, but also to support community members to connect or reconnect or discover for the first time the supports in the society when the community opens up more again. And that's it from me. Just to say my contact details are there. And I just want to highlight the All Ireland Social Prescribing Network as well, which anybody that's interested in social prescribing can link in with, and the contact details are there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lisa, for that really insightful and really clear overview of social prescribing. I would now like to introduce Joanne Donohoe, the Chair of Healthy Carlow. Over to you, Joanne.
Great, thanks a million, Sinead. Before I start my slides, I just want to say just a huge thanks for the invitation to be here. I'm representing Healthy Carlow. I'm also community worker with Carlow County Development Partnership. And when I heard that Carlow was getting a social prescribing service, I was just thrilled. Myself and a lot of people have been lobbying and advocating to get a social prescribing service in Carlow for many years. And I suppose when I heard about the pilot in Donegal a good few years ago, and I was really interested in the concept of social prescribing. And it seems to be one that works. And now the fact that there's an International Social Prescribing Day just means it's very much on the map, and absolutely delighted to be part of this. So I'm here representing Healthy Carlow. And what I'm going to do now is just give you I suppose an overview of what Healthy Carlow does, and just want to put it into context, just I suppose where social prescribing fits in with that. So Healthy Carlow is part of a bigger picture. So there's a Healthy Ireland framework, 2013 to 2015. And the concept of that is to have a healthy Ireland where everyone can enjoy physical and mental health and well-being to their full potential.
Sorry, Joanne, can you just press from the beginning on your slideshow, please? Thank you.
Sorry about that. So that's the Healthy Ireland framework. So in relation to the local context, Healthy Carlow is a subgroup of the LCDC, which is the local community development committee. And Healthy Carlow, the monies are administered through Carlow County Council. So in 2018, a Healthy Carlow County Plan was launched, and that's aligned to the following priorities. So they are alcohol and drug related, sexual health, tobacco free, physical health, mental health, and healthy weight. So again, in the local context, there's been 3 rounds of funding. So in 2017, 2018, and 2019, we received funding in Carlow. We also were lucky enough to receive community mental health fund, and through that we got an additional 62,000. We were able to support some small grants. projects, and also we were able to support the Fellownia Carlow Regional Youth Services Counselling Service. So Healthy Carlow is an interagency committee, and it's made up of Carlow County Council, Carlow County Development Partnership, the Youth Services, C.S.C, the Sports Partnership, Carlow County Libraries, the HSC, IT, the LCDC, and St. Catherine's. So to put it into context around social prescribing, so funding for the social prescribing programme or service in Carlow comes through the third strand of the Healthy Carlow funding. And it very much fits with the Healthy Carlow plan. And it comes under a number of priorities in the Healthy Carlow plan, which is great. And just to say as well, an application has been made. This current funding brings the social prescribing service in Carlow up to June, and we are currently looking for additional funding so that the service can be maintained until the end of the year. And we're quite confident that will happen, so fingers crossed. So I just want to let people know, I suppose, when sometimes people don't really understand the kind of projects that Healthy Carlow are involved in. So I wanted to give people just a very quick idea of some, I suppose, our impact for 2020, which was last year. So just to let you know, some of the projects that we've been involved in and supported were the Fellownia Counselling, which I've already mentioned. So 175 hours of counselling, additional counselling hours were provided to 25 young people through Fellownia, and that was through funding from Healthy Carlow. Also, we have a very strong media, so a very strong Instagram and Facebook page. We ran a 6-week campaign, so we linked in with Healthy Carlow, ran a 6-week campaign on all different aspects of health. So there was a number of different people interviewed talking about health on the radio. That was fantastic. There was an Art and Mind project, which is continuing this year, but last year it was in Hackettstown, so it was a wall project, and there was 14 participants in that. And also there are a number of regional actions as part of Healthy Carlow, and one of those was a positive aging action, and there was a number of webinars that were offered during Positive Aging Week. I seem to have some of the other impacts that we've been involved with also is there's a number of grants that were given as well. There was 8 grants given in 2020, and 4 of those grants have been completed, which is fantastic. So just wanted to give that sense, I suppose, of the projects and the sense of the different things that Healthy Carlow were involved in. And I think today, celebrating social prescribing, it's fantastic that Healthy Carlow has been part of this project. And I know Sinéad has certainly hit the ground running. You know, she got out to the traps very quickly, started the service, and was in a position to start meeting people. And from Healthy Carlow's point of view, we're very, very proud to be part of that. So we can be found as well on Instagram and Facebook. And we also have an email address, and we have a part-time coordinator at the moment, Eilish Langton. So that person will be contacted through our email address. So thanks very much, Sinead.
Joanne, thank you so much for that. It's great to see the footprint and the impact that Healthy Carlow is having here locally. So thank you so much for your input today. Next up is Sinead Kirwan. Sinead is a placement officer and education support with Carlow Volunteer Centre. So over to you, Sinead.
Hi. So as Sinead said, my name is Sinead Kirwan, and I'm one of the placement officers in Carlow Volunteer Centre. So I'm just going to quickly talk about what we do in Carlow Volunteer Centre and why people volunteer, and then maybe how you go about volunteering. So I'm just going to share my screen here now. Sorry. Just won't share. Sorry.
Can I assist you, Sinead?
Yeah, it just won't share here.
Have you the PowerPoint presentation open on your desktop?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay, bear with me now and I can share your slides, and if you just ask me when to move on, just 1 moment, please.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so sorry about that now. So as I said, I'm Sinéad Kirwan and I'm a placement officer in Carlow Volunteer Centre. So the next slide, please. Okay, so we are a small team in Carlow. There's 3 of us in the office there, and we work to promote volunteering and the value of volunteering across the county of Carlow. So Helen is our manager and Natasha is the other placement officer with Carlow Volunteer Centre. Okay, next slide. So briefly what we do is we work with organisations who rely on volunteers to deliver their services, and with the individuals themselves who want to volunteer. So an individual might come into us and express that they want to volunteer, and we would talk through the various opportunities that are available with organisations. We advertise roles for organisations that need volunteers, and we also help manage their volunteers so that everyone has a really positive experience while volunteering. Okay, next slide. So normally you can find us at the back of the County Council offices in Carlow on the Athy Road. However, as most of us are working from home at the minute, so you can contact us via Zoom, email, text, whatever is most convenient for yourselves. And we're also on social media where we advertise volunteering opportunities and we give updates as well. Okay. So there are our contact details. Both myself and Natasha work part-time, but the week is covered, so you can contact us via email or on our phone numbers there. Okay, next slide. So why do people want to volunteer? Well, people come to us to volunteer for a number of different reasons, whether it's to gain new experiences, to develop their talents, to respond to a community need in their area. But recently, and I suppose coming to the fore now at the moment particularly, people want to volunteer to improve their own health and self-esteem. They want to gain some connection with their community, and we are social beings, so we do strive towards that connection with the community. They have benefited from their own personal growth while volunteering, and it's also lots of fun. So we would have lots of volunteers that would come back time and time again to volunteer. Okay. The volunteering complements the 5 ways of well-being really well, and this is from Mental Health Ireland. So being connected, being involved in your community, and keeping active. So volunteering works quite well to complement that. Next slide. So there has been a number of different studies on the value of volunteering. We would come under the umbrella of Volunteer Ireland, and they undertook a study there in 2018, and they found that the majority of volunteers found volunteering supports their mental health and well-being, and it did increase their range of friendships. So people meet lots of different people and increases their range of friendships, which is obviously really important then for their overall well-being and being connected with the community. Okay. So you can see there one of the staff of Volunteer Ireland talks about the benefits of volunteering in terms of their physical health, their mental health, and increased confidence and sense of belonging in their community. Okay. So as in terms of the types of volunteering opportunities available, there's a huge amount available, from working with young people to working in charity shops to gardening to festivals. But obviously at the moment, there has been a curb of lots of those activities due to COVID-19. So we can categorize the volunteering opportunities in terms of, sorry, if you could, next slide, please, in terms of short-term, long-term and once-off opportunities. So short-term opportunities would be something like a summer camp, volunteering with a summer camp. Long-term opportunities would be something like befriending, and once-off then would be like charity collection days or festival stewards. So when you're thinking about volunteering, an individual should think about volunteering in terms of the time that they can give, location, where they want to volunteer. So just on the next slide there, you can see the questions that maybe you could need to ask yourself. So what you want to do, when you want to do it. So would mornings or evenings or weekends suit? Whereabouts do you want to volunteer in your area? Do you want to volunteer in a bigger town? And for how long you want to volunteer for. So can you commit a couple of months? Can you commit a year? So think about your own hobbies and interests, and then think about your time and availability that you can give to volunteering. And for the most part, we can match a volunteering opportunity based on those. Okay, next slide. So as I said earlier, COVID-19 has impacted a lot of the community and voluntary organisations. Many of them have had to close due to the public health restrictions, and they've been unable to support volunteers for in-person roles. However, there has been a huge increase in the number of remote volunteering opportunities available. So this is really positive in terms of people that are facing barriers to volunteering, such as location or time. So people are finding that the remote opportunities are often a bit more flexible. Okay. So how do you go about volunteering? So the first thing you can do is log on to our website, volunteercarlow.ie. And from there, you can register as a volunteer onto the iVol database. From there, you can also browse the volunteer opportunities, not only in Carlow, but also nationwide. You can select a from home option to bring up the virtual roles. And as I said earlier, there is a huge increase in those at the moment, and they're very popular. Okay, so that's basically it from me. If you have any queries on volunteering or want to talk about any of the opportunities that are available, you can contact either myself, Sinéad, or Natasha on those numbers and on those emails, and we can get back to you. Okay, that's it. So thank you very much.
Sinead, thank you very much for that. And I know myself and Lisa can both say, in terms of the really positive outcomes of linking individuals into volunteering as part of a social prescription, we have seen some really, really beneficial outcomes to that, some of which you've mentioned there in terms of improving health and well-being and self-esteem. And even at present, the remote volunteering opportunities have proven to be very successful to tackle that isolation and loneliness that some individuals are experiencing at present while adhering to the safety measures in place. So thank you so much for that really informative piece, Sinead. Up next, we have Fiona Dunne, who is the Community Education Facilitator, with Kilkenny Carlow ETB. Take it away, Fiona.
Hi Sinead, thanks for inviting me today, and it's great to have this project here in Carlow now. Thank you. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the adult education services that the ETB has. Okay. Okay. There's a number of different areas to adult education. It's probably a lot broader than people think, so I'll just quickly go through them. So first of all, we have the post-leaving cert courses. So they're really courses for people who have completed their leaving cert or completed a course similar to the leaving cert and now want to go on to do another course, usually a QQI level 5 and level 6. They're offered in a huge variety of areas: business, tourism, humanities, sports, service industry, technology, science. And there's also, as well as QQI, they would offer accreditation from other awarding bodies as well. For information on those, you can contact Carlow Institute of Further Education, which is the new college there on the Kilkenny Road. The training services operates out of Kilkenny, but has offices or runs courses throughout both Carlow and Kilkenny. So it runs courses including traineeships and apprenticeships. We also have community training and then contracted training as well. Again, they're offered in a huge variety of areas: hospitality, warehouse, welding, transport, healthcare, retail, with qualifications level 3, 4, 5 and 6. And as I said, they're based there in Danville, and the contact information is there. Then we have VITAS based on Carlow here in Carlow. It offers a range of courses to meet the education and training needs of unemployed people who are over the age of 21. So to engage in a VITAS program, you need to be over 21, and you also need to be a social welfare recipient. Again, they have courses from level 3 and level 5 and 6 programs in office admin, IT skills and general learning. Youth Reach offers a range of courses for young people who have been early school leavers, so it gives them the opportunity to re-engage in education. So we have the 2-year leaving cert and also a QQI level 4 general learning program as well, and that's based up on the road. The Adult Literacy Centre, which is just sitting on me, but it's based up on the Tulla Road as well, and that will give people assistance reading, writing, just to develop their skills in areas such as that. BTI, for some reason, has skipped on me as well, but the Back to Education initiative is based on Burren Street. This is a part-time initiative which allows people to re-engage in programs at level 3, 4, 5 and 6 in areas such as childcare, healthcare, ICT and horticulture. It's very flexible, so people can engage with the programs, but also maybe be in part-time employment, looking after their families or whatever. And then you have community education, which is my own area. So that's basically education that's based in the community. So you will have different groups, different organizations who will themselves decide on an area that they would like to do. Can be anything from art to aerobics, painting, cooking, anything like that. They come to me and I help match them up with funding and tutors so that they can run that course in their community. As you can imagine, everything like this in COVID was hit very, very badly, as all our groups couldn't meet. Also, all venues and such were closed. So what we have adapted to this this year is to offer virtual community education groups. So having listened to people who contacted me looking for things to do because loneliness or isolation and that, we have a large range of courses now which are running virtually, and people are coming together to form virtual community groups so that they then can do a subject that they want to do, but they're also meeting people on a regular basis online, they're sharing experiences and things like that. And even when we get back to our new normal, whatever that may be, we'll be maintaining certainly a virtual community group presence as well, because I think it meets the needs of a lot of people who might have transport issues, who might be very isolated, or who might not have a group in their area. That educational guidance service is based in Burren Street as well, 1A Meadow Court, and it provides individuals and groups with an opportunity to identify, explore and review education and career options. So individuals can come along and they can make an appointment, they can speak to a member of staff and they'll be guided through the process, and members of staff will also visit groups and outline options and that to them. So for any information on any of what I've spoken about or any of the adult educational services, you can please contact the Adult Education and Guidance Service on Burren Street there, and that's the phone number there, which is 059 9133 123. Okay, so thanks a million. That's the end of mine.
Fiona, thank you so much for that input. And I know myself, even here in the Carlow Social Prescribing Service, have seen some really positive outcomes for some individuals that are linking into the community education-based virtual courses at the moment through the support of the Carlow Social Prescribing. So I can definitely vouch for them in terms of reducing isolation and loneliness for people at the moment, and also improving their self-confidence, which can be a stepping stone for individuals then to progress further in other further education and training. So thank you so much for that. Next up, we have Majella Fennelly, who is the Community Sports and Physical Activity Hub Coordinator with Carlow Sports Partnership. So Majella, I'm just going to pass over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sinéad, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Majella Fennelly, and we are delighted here from Carlow Sports Partnership to join St. Catherine's and Healthy Carlow to celebrate in the International Social Prescribing Day. I'm just going to share my slides. And I'm trying to get, sorry now, technology.
If you click on slideshow, Majella, and
Yeah,
press from the beginning.
It's the bar is hiding it.
No problem. If you go to the bottom right-hand corner.
Oh, yes, yes.
So it's the next one, that one.
Perfect, thank you.
You're
Every
welcome.
day is a school day. That's fantastic, thank you, Helena. So who is Carlow Sports Partnership? Carlow Sports Partnership is part of a national network of 29 local sports partnerships, and we are funded by Sport Ireland, and we are operated as a subcommittee and a sub-unit of Carlow County Council. And our work is guided by an advisory committee made up of individuals who have experience in strategic sports development. So what is our outcome and what do we seek? Club development, volunteer training, enhancing planning of sport on a local level, creating directories of sports bodies and facilities, and linking in with the schools, the clubs, the community groups and the NGBs. We aim to increase on a local level participation, especially for the target groups such as older adults, girls and women, and people with disabilities, unemployment, and those who live in disadvantaged communities. Sorry. So just to introduce you to our team, our coordinator is Marta Jane Duggan, our administrator is Sandra Corrigan, our sports inclusion disability officer is Teresa O'Mara, and I am the hub coordinator, and Deborah Foley is our community sports development officer. So that's the team behind Carlow Sports Partnership. And just to make you aware of a new activator project that we have underway. We are currently upskilling our tutors and fitness professionals from Carlow. You may know a few of the guys and the girls there, Joe Dunne and Joanne Flood and Jamie Malone. What is activator outdoor pole sessions? Well, the idea of this is it's to help increase physical activity levels in older adults, and basically with COVID, anybody that needs to get out and get active and improve their mobility, their strength and their balance. So just to ask you to keep an eye out and link in and look out for our upcoming programs in activator pole sessions. And Carlow Sports Partnership aims to address the prevalent issue, especially among the target groups such as older people and people with disabilities, to just create that social interaction again and build confidence out in the community. We obviously have to wait for restrictions to be lifted, but as they get lifted, we want to get out and get our communities going again. So just to stay connected with Carlow Sports Partnership, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Visit us on carlowsports.ie, and if you want to stay up to date with what's going on a local level and on a national level, we have a fantastic newsletter. It's a 5-bullet Friday, so we'd invite you to sign up for that. And on behalf of all the team at Carlow Sports Partnership, we'll continue to look forward, Sinead, to collaborating with yourself, and we invite everybody to keep moving, keep well and keep active with Carlow Sports Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Majella, and I think that's a lovely note to leave your input on there, just in terms of, you know, that there is things to look forward to, and we are all looking forward to getting out and getting communities going again. So thank you so much, Majella, for your input there.
Thank you.
So we are delighted now to have some input from Martin Matthews, who is the Shine Coordinator for the South East. And Martin is going to talk to us just briefly on the impact of social connections on our health and well-being.
Thank you very much, Sinead, and thanks for inviting me along to this. And it has been social prescribing has been in Waterford for a few years, and we've worked closely with them over that time. As I say, I'll briefly be talking to you. Everybody will be out by 3. No, I'm only joking. But when we talk about mental health and well-being and all these particular things, we tend to think of medication, doctors, counselling, and whatever it is. But the impact of a mental health difficulty or a well-being difficulty is mostly felt on a social level and a community level, that people can tend to isolate themselves or feel that nobody really understands what's going on for them. So it becomes nearly a self-fulfilling prophecy that you become disengaged to a certain extent with your community, with your family, with your society. And as we're speaking here today about community and how it is to connect, because most of us at some stage we're either living with our family, or we're living with somebody, or even if indeed we're living on our own. But it can become quite, I'm going to use the word like tiresome, but it can become quite isolating. So when you begin to think about who you are and what you are, you can feel extremely lonely. When we look at loneliness versus isolation, isolation is something where we can, at some extent, choose to be alone, choose not to mix with people as much as we people think we should. Whereas loneliness is, even though we're amongst a crowd, we're amongst our friends, family, we can feel quite lonely. So as a result is, how do we connect? How do we connect with our community? Because especially now, and I hate saying it because everybody has mentioned it, the COVID-19, we tend to sit down and watch television, whether it's Netflix or whatever it is, but it's what's called the passive consumption of leisure. And it can reduce our ability to motivate ourselves to get out and make connections. And indeed, our confidence can sometimes take a knock, because even I know myself, when you're out and about, you meet loads of different people. You don't tend to think about who your connections are in the community because you've met somebody in the coffee shop or whatever. But as we're moving forward now, it's, I suppose, to think, what is it I want? What does being part of a community mean to me? And like, you don't have to go out and be part of it, but if it's something you feel that you're missing on your life, where do you go? Like, Carlow Prescribing is quite good, volunteer centres and all this, but on a very basic level, it can be just get out, have your walk, you're within your 5K distance, wear your mask. You may come across somebody, you may be able to speak, to reduce that sense of being alone and having some kind of nonsensical conversation. Also, it's quite important to access support services, whether they're online, whether it's the Samaritans or any self-help, or even ringing organizations like Shine or Grow or something like that. But not to get too caught up in thinking that just because you're experiencing a mental health difficulty, that you can't talk to people or that you can't share what's going on for you. Because sometimes we feel we don't want to burden others, and it allows us to, I suppose, to withdraw within ourselves, to become quieter, or indeed even to some extent just mask what's going on. When somebody asks you, you say, "Oh, I'm grand, don't worry about it." But as the time progresses, as I said earlier, it can become much harder to speak to somebody, to actually tell somebody what's going on for you, to vent, to allow the thoughts or the negative thoughts or something, just to allow them to leave, because we can be trapped with them at all times. So one of the things I would suggest is, at the beginning of a week, have a think about setting yourself a timetable, whether you're working or not working, but get dressed when you get up. Begin your day with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever you do. Make yourself go for that short walk just to get some air. Plan your activity for the day, that at 12 o'clock you're going to go down to the post office on a Tuesday, or that you're going to buy a newspaper, or that you're going to do something that's going to get you out there and participate in your community. Because you are your community. You are part of it. You are the same as everybody else. So you're as much of a support to someone else as they are to you. and you are an important part, and it's important that you begin to think about yourself as offering support as well as somebody who may receive it. So, you know, it's about how to speak. What do you want to talk about? That it's not always, you don't want to be talking about the COVID, you don't want to be talking about the weather. Maybe you might come across somebody at a socially distanced conversation on the lack of sport, or what you do with your day, or indeed a lot of people are beginning to use social media in a different way by joining online groups, whether it's about accessing the wildlife websites or looking at various activities, crafts, and all this kind of stuff. And people talk about social media as being something that creates distance and isolation. Indeed, it can. But as we're observing social media, it's quite important that people put their best foot forward. They don't tend to put up pictures of themselves on their own. They always put them up with family members or something magnificent is happening. But a lot of people's lives are as mundane as ours. So it's about how do you access these supports? How do you join communities and groups? And even indeed, there's lots of voluntary organizations that are available now that you can give yourself your time to work virtually. Try not to watch as news all day, because news all day tends to give bad news, or they're always looking for the sensationalism, and that in itself can drag us down and give us a negative impact of what's actually happening. Obviously watch the news, but get your information from somewhere quite that you can trust, like the HSE websites if it's about COVID and all that kind of thing. Read your newspapers as much as possible, but remember that they're selling information on sensationalism, and they kind of, if they dress it up as worse than it is, people tend to buy it. And if we constantly buy into the negative, it can bring us a mindset of negativity. So it's about how do we respond to what's happening? How do we take control of our lives? And one of the ways of doing that is to be positive, to engage, offer support, pick up the phone. It's as simple as making a phone call sometimes. The old art of letter writing. If you're somebody who attends religious services or whatever, it's something that, you know, these things can still be done by remotely, through the radio, through television, through other ways of being.
Martin, apologies. Thank you so much. And you're making some really interesting points there, and a really important message that you're putting across to everybody. And there's so much that we can all take away from that. I'm just really conscious of people's time, and I don't want to keep everybody too much longer. So apologies for having to come across there, but thank you so much for that input, Martin. It was really, really interesting. Just finally, before I hand you over to Niall Morris, the Director of Services for St. Catherine's Community Services Centre here, I know there has been some questions coming in there on the Q&A box, just around kind of linking into the Carlow Social Prescribing Service. So just to say, if it's just you're representing an organisation or a community group and you'd like to just link in to give the Social Prescribing Service just some contact details about your group, you can do that. So contact me directly, and my mobile number is there, and it's socialprescribing@catherines.ie. And if you have somebody in mind that you would like to refer into the service, you can refer them through that email as well. Okay, so you can contact me for a referral form for the service. So to wrap up today's webinar, I am going to hand you over to Niall Morris, the Director of Services in St. Catherine's. And thank you all so much for joining us today. So Niall, over to you.
Thanks, Sinéad, and hello to everybody. And thanks to you all for joining us out there. We've had a great response and a great interest in today's event. And I think that's a really good indication of the level of interest here in Carlow in social prescribing. First of all, I just really like to compliment and thank all our speakers today. It was really interesting to hear Lisa speak at the service there in Dublin in the Southside partnership. And that's obviously quite well established, and we can see that it's delivering real benefits for people there on the ground. And I suppose it's great for us in Carlow because that's where we want to be, and that's where we ultimately will go, all going well. It's also great as well to hear from, you know, Sinéad, Fiona, Majella, and Martin. They give a great flavour there of the, you know, the many services and supports that are available in Carlow. And while Carlow might be a small county, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of services there that can help people. And the aim of the social prescribing service is to support people to engage with those services and with all the other services that are potentially out there. It was also really good to hear from Joanne around Healthy Carlow. And I suppose it's a kind of a theme of the talk, in that you can see that Healthy Carlow are supporting other activities and they're raising awareness generally around health. And social prescribing is situated very much within that. So it is important, you know, as a service that we help people engage and support them to engage with all those services. From St. Catherine's point of view, we're really delighted to be involved with social prescribing. As Sinead mentioned at the start there, I think even, you know, at the best of times, we're all aware of how important it is, you know, for us as humans, as people, to feel connected with others and with our communities. And that connectiveness, it has a real say in how positive we feel about ourselves. So we can't really underestimate the importance of that. And this, of course, has never been more important as it is now when we're going through the pandemic. And it will continue to be important, and probably more so even as we come out of COVID. And we will come out of COVID. It may take us a little bit of time, but we will come out of it. So it's important that we're geared up and we're ready to support people in that area. Joanne also just mentioned there as well that the social prescribing service, it's a pilot service here in Carlow town. So that's why we're asking people today to spread the word about the social prescribing service, that it's available here in Carlow town. We're open and we're looking to support people. So it's important for us that we can demonstrate the demand for the service as well, so we can continue with the service into the short term, medium term and long term. The social prescribing service, it is an interagency initiative. So I'd just like to thank all the members of the steering committee. I'd like to thank Carlow County Council, the HSE, Healthy Carlow, and also New Oak Community Centre, and the services based between here in St. Catherine's and New Oak. And finally, I'd just like to say a big thanks to Sinead, who is our social prescribing coordinator. And as Joanne mentioned earlier, she's put a lot of work into organising today's event, but also to thank her for all her good work in getting the service up and running. She is actively engaging with people and supporting people. So she's there and she's ready to take your call and take your referrals or answer any questions you have. And just lastly, just like to thank Helena, who's the very calm voice in the background there, who's kept us all on track. So I'd just like to say thank you all again for joining us, and all the best.